So the first question on the board panel is, can SCC compost single-use compostable plastics? That'd be you.
Right now, we are not composting single-use compostable plastics, the PLAs or the NGO or that. We do get very hot temperatures, and we do see some of those products degrade, but they're not recommended for the backyard scale, which is, we're a large backyard scale, basically. So, no, we do not. Please don't bring them to our compost sites at this time. Those are meant for industrial facilities.
Thank you, Tracy. So the next question, and this is for Dr. Main, I believe. We hear that some farm-raised fish are really bad for you. For example, salmon, they say you should only eat wild. Can you comment on this?
Well, I personally disagree with that opinion. Farm-raised seafood is some of the best seafood that is available on the planet. The advantage of farm-raised seafood is that you know where it's been. It's been fed good quality feed throughout its life, and then it is harvested and brought to market. And one of the challenges that you have with wild-caught seafood, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have wild, we need to have both, but one of the challenges you have with wild-caught is that you don't know where it has been. So it could have moved into an area, and there could be some challenges with it. Now, a lot of the misconception about farm-raised seafood is based on really old information, because our science and our farming practices have greatly improved as we have learned more about how to raise animals in captivity. And so we know a whole lot about land-based agriculture, but most of our large-scale production knowledge for, say, fish production has happened in the last 20 years. So in the last 20 years, we've really learned a lot and improved the practices. So the analysis is that the quality is the same or potentially better with farm-raised.
Robert, this next question is probably for you. How can youth get involved with oyster recycling, composting, and aquaculture?
So again, I feel a little better now that I'm sitting. You go to the grocery store and you get a dozen oysters or you get some clams. Think about where that's going to go. In the old days, I lived up in the Carolinas and the Florida coast. We put them out in the creek right by our house. We used it for the roadbed. This program is going to be scaled up. What we anticipate is having stations throughout the county, different municipalities where you can come and deposit your shells. The restaurants, and we'll be distributing a press release on the next 10 restaurants that'll be coming out. It'll be a route. And then phase 2 will be the next 10 or 20 or 30 restaurants. But at this juncture, there probably isn't any place to deposit right this minute. Yes, ma'am.
I know that Manatee County has a, I think, quarterly volunteer day where they build the oyster bag. So if someone were interested in participating, you can just contact or look at Manatee County's website.
Correct. And in days to come, we're going to be sending out a press release that we've got 65,000 pounds of shell that needs to be bagged. So that will be a great opportunity to come, and by then we'll have next steps as we continue to scale up the project down on the riverfront in Manatee.
So the next question is for Mac and Mindy. So how can I start a community garden in a green space in my city of Sarasota neighborhood?
So in the city of Sarasota right now, there's orange. If you have interest in community or school garden, it's beneficial to touch base, because I might be able to point you to an existing garden that's already in your neighborhood that is ready to go and has a plot available. So there's Bayou Oaks and Orange Blossom that are both within the city of Sarasota. If you want to start a new one, definitely touch base with me. And on our website, the extension, Sarasota County Extension website, there's a community garden page, and it actually lists the steps that people would usually go through to start a garden. Community gardens, it is really important that you have a community. So gauging some interests from your fellow community members, because it does require a lot of physical work, and so you don't want to be out there yourself, and then you need other people that are planning on gardening with you as well. So, but the steps are there, and our contact information as well.
One more question. Hold on to the mic. So for SCC, what would be the one policy that you'd like to see changed locally that would help support and grow? I think it's going to say community gardens. Is that composting? Scroll down. Composting, sorry. Tracy.
What policy to change community composting?
It says what
Or
would be the
composting in
policy
general?
that you would like to see changed locally to help support and grow community composting?
Well, I feel like locally there is a lot of support for community composting. It's just getting the word out and expanding the existing programs. For composting in general, we just need to have some shifts so that material can move around, like, say, for instance, from restaurants to places that can process large volumes and that kind of thing. So that would probably be
And then the next question is, are any compost sites in Manatee County?
For community composting, there are only school programs in Manatee County, but we would love to see more community composting in Manatee County.
Here, a golden question next. Love the composting. Is dog poop compostable?
We do not put dog poop in any of our composting bins. No, we do not.
Okay.
Yep.
Next question is for Robert. For Oyster Guy, Robert, you're not the Oyster Guy. Put it on your business card.
Yeah, that's it.
So there have been seaweed blooms in the Caribbean. Potentially this will increase in the tropics, subtropics. Do you have any creative ideas as how to make use of that seaweed?
Wow, that's a great question. We are looking at some seaweed dishes, so I think it would be a matter of testing them, see if they're edible. As Dr. Main said, purslane is a dish that is in that sort of family. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's a succulent. It's got the salt in it. It's got the moisture content, so we utilize that product in sautés and different dishes and sauces. But I could not speak to exactly what we would use it without knowing exactly the type of species it was.
Okay. If you scroll up a bit, it's a question in the middle of that blue part I missed. There we go. There we go. So how do you prepare purslane? Is it bitter, tart, question mark? Do you cook it or eat it raw? Purslane.
All of the above. So, and I am putting out a cookbook, so keep an eye out for that. Probably it won't be out before Christmas because I can see it's December is going to be here, in 2 days. But you can dry it. You can eat it fresh on salads. It's not something that you would necessarily eat uncooked, just all by itself. It has I wouldn't say it has a really unique flavor to it. And so it can be pickled. It can be done in soups, juices, all kinds of things. So keep an eye out. We're going to have that cookbook, and so we'll get it up on the Moat website.
Thank you so much to the panel. Let's give them a round of applause. Excellent job. I really feel like this panel especially, like a lot of the panelists, have really given me especially, hope. I don't know if y'all feel the same way. We see a lot of the news reports. I'm reading the Drawdown book right now. I'm like, ugh. But I really feel like very hopeful after the presentation today. So let's give a big round of applause for all of our speakers today. Thank you, everybody who came up here. It's not easy coming up here and doing this gig.